So thanks everyone for joining. As Chloe said, my name is Halley Meslin, and I'm a technical officer on the Business and Nature team. I'm joined by my colleague, Katie Marfleet, and we'll be going over a brief introduction on NGO partnerships with businesses. And then we're really excited that Dr. Chuong from GreenViet is here as well to discuss specific examples from their NGO. Everyone's at a different place, so really it's about seeing how we can begin thinking about what it means to engage with business. So some of the objectives are to understand the different ways that NGOs can partner with businesses, understanding why businesses might want to partner with NGOs, and the other way around, what's some of the data around why an NGO might want to partner with business, and then think about gaining confidence in deciding whether to engage in a partnership or not. So as I mentioned, we'll start with going through the different models, understanding motivations, deciding and then sharing your stories, and then we'll go through some case studies of how our team, Business and Nature, partners with business. So to start off, when we're talking about an NGO business partnership, we're talking about something that is based on mutual learning and shared benefits. So importantly, this differs from a transactional relationship, like a consultancy. Interesting to note is that 68% of corporates and 61% of NGOs report that partnerships have helped shift business practices for the better. So this is really important for the conversation because we're conservation NGOs, we're wanting things to get better for people and planet. So importantly, partnerships should be helping businesses to that end as well. And important to start the conversation now because corporate NGO partnerships are predicted to become more important over the next 3 years. So the first partnership model that we're going to talk about perhaps is the most familiar, but this is a philanthropic partnership model. So what we mean by that is talking about grants or donations. So this is kind of the fundamental relationship, or in the past, what you might think about is a business is giving an NGO money to go about their conservation activities. And so an example of this is one of Fauna and Flora's NGO partners in Sao Tome and Principe there's a tourist conservation fee that goes into one of the local hotels. So basically, even though the hotel, in this case, is not actually necessarily changing what they're doing, in this example, the fee that someone pays when they stay there is going to be directly donated to the local NGO. The second type of partnership model is strategic. So in this model, it's mostly about shared conservation goals and creating co-initiatives. And so in this model, it's about how the business itself, its operations, are going to be changed and developed alongside the work with the NGO. So this example is Puka Tea, which is a brand. They have sustainable harvesting practices in Central Asia. And the reason for this is because part of their brand now is about this type of agriculture model. So by partnering with an NGO, they're able to, sorry, I'm seeing a chat. I need to mute it, but I'm trying to see the screen. So shared conservation goals in this case would be strategic for both the NGO and the business. And then the third kind in this model is in-kind support. So in this model, it isn't necessarily about money that is being the vehicle for conservation actions being done on the ground. In this model, it's skills or resources, and that could include visibility. So, for example, an in-kind support could be, instead of money for your project to be done, it could be fertilizer donations for a tree planting campaign, for example. So this is how a particular business could their resources in order to further the mission of the NGO. This could also be particularly for businesses that don't have on the ground operations, like a technology company or communications company, even a consultancy. Perhaps they can help with in-kind support through their use of data or presentations or some type of service that could be helpful to an NGO. So to kind of read the temperature of the room, it'd be great to hear either in the chat, or I think we have a poll that will come up, but which model interests you most, if you're a business or NGO, either way, just to kind of see what we think, and also there's an other. So if there's something else that we've done, this is very much high level, but there's obviously many different models. Understanding motivations to partner. To begin this part of the presentation, it's important to know what drives businesses to act on nature in the first place. So there's several reasons, and we just chose a handful to show here. But the first is not that exciting, but they legally have to act. So businesses act on nature because of regulations. So in order for them to continue their license to operate, they have to follow environmental and social rules, which is very important. What we're seeing more of is there's also a consumer demand. So people that are buying a business's products or using their services, they have a desire for their actions, what they spend their money on, etc., to do better for nature and the environment. So businesses are responding to what their customers are thinking and hearing about. Risk and resilience. What this driver means really is that businesses are more and more recognizing that in order to continue operating as a business, their operations depend on nature. So they have to face risks from nature, such as perhaps they are an agriculture company and they're experiencing drought. How are they going to forecast whether they're going to be able to continue producing their products, etc., when all of their work depends on nature? Sustainability commitments. So kind of building on the demand from the law, from consumers, from their own internal business case of operations, they have committed in many instances to doing better for nature. So they need to do what they say they will do in terms of how they've committed to the public and themselves. And then finally, what's perhaps the most exciting, I know, for our team is when businesses have a desire to be a leader in their field. So this is moving beyond doing less bad and doing more good. So businesses want to act on nature, not only because it's the right thing to do, their business depends on it, but they feel that they have an opportunity to be a leader. What brings us to, if they're motivated to work on nature, there's a variety of ways they could go about doing that. So why would a business partner with an NGO specifically? So the first reason, and the strongest reason from some of the research that we did, was that, and that we know, NGOs bring positive reputation and credibility. And that's because NGOs are trusted third-party experts. So a business who is going about their nature journey wants to act with integrity, and therefore partnering with an NGO is by partnering with someone who has that independent level of expertise. Expertise and knowledge being extremely important. So businesses are not conservation organizations, even if they understand nature. Perhaps they have hopefully one, biodiversity manager, or they have one sustainability manager. They're still not designed to be experts on the environment. NGOs are, and they bring local knowledge, but also biodiversity measurement and implementation expertise, which is essential to understand what's actually happening on the ground. And finally, NGOs have unique local stories to tell. So businesses could potentially amplify those stories for the benefit of the NGO, but also for the benefit of the business to set themselves apart and really have credibility where they're operating. Kind of flipping to the other, if we're looking at it from the other side, why would an NGO partner with business? And just some of the reasons, there's obviously many, but the number one reason is access to funding. And that was, that philanthropic model mainly has been what's leading this. But obviously, NGOs are nonprofits, so access to funding is essential. It's not only essential for daily operations, but partnering with a business has the potential for long-term impact. So the type of relationships, that we were talking about earlier, not transactional in terms of, you have this project and it's done. Ideally, it would be a longer-term partnership. Building on that, innovation. So oftentimes a business might have, a desire, again, the desire to be a leader. So in that same realm, innovation, working with an on-the-ground partner has the chance to set the business apart for their own, storytelling gains, while also supporting conservation innovation that might not have been possible without that investment from the business. And then access to networks. So businesses, many have vast, supply chains. Some businesses resonate with people, their brands that you recognize. Some businesses don't have that strong of a brand presence. But in any case, businesses are made up of hundreds of people, just like NGOs are. And by partnering, there's access to networks that could help amplify the conservation goals of the NGO beyond just that initial partnership with the business. So here's our second poll. Would love to see either if you're an NGO, why do you partner with business? Or if you're a business, why do you think NGOs partner with businesses? Be interesting to see this one.
So you're allowed to choose multiple for this one. I can see access to funding and long-term impacts fairly popular. Again, if there's any other reasons that we haven't listed, do pop them in the chat. Okay, a few more people haven't responded, but do pop your answers if you can. I'll end there, I think.
Okay, so yeah, access to funding, long-term impact, then access to networks and innovation. Very interesting. Okay, great. So now I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Katie.
Thanks, Halley Rose. So yeah, we've looked at the motivations behind partnering with businesses. So now I want to look at a few questions about partnering with specific businesses and how to communicate your story to them. So here we have some of the questions that you'll need to think about before you decide to partner with a particular business. So for example, do they pass basic due diligence, and does the partnership align with your mission and conservation priorities? Are there risks such as environmental, social or reputational risks? And if so, can these risks realistically be mitigated to allow the partnership to go ahead? There's also then practical questions to consider, such as whether you have the capacity to manage a partnership, and you need to take into consideration whether your expectations and roles and timeline are clear. And then, of course, you also need to assess whether the partnership will deliver real benefits for nature and people. Next slide, please. So let's say you've established the answers to those questions and you've decided that, yes, you would like to go ahead and partner with this business. Now you need to know how to best share your story with them to articulate your organization's value. So I'll run through a few tips on how you can do this to best effect. So you'll need to define your unique contribution. So really showing them what makes you as an organization special. This could be things like legitimacy in your geography, regional or species-specific conservation expertise, or your history of success. You'll then want to use storytelling methods such as personal stories or photos and videos to create an engaging narrative, as well as impact evidence such as data translated into easy to understand visuals to convey your effectiveness. It's also important to focus on mutual benefits and shared outcomes. So you really need to demonstrate what you can achieve together that neither of you would be able to achieve alone. You should be creative and collaborative and think outside the box to consider what new benefits might be derived from such a partnership. If this has given you any ideas on how your organization might articulate your story, please do share them in the chat. It'd be really interesting to see. Next slide, please. So you've decided that you would like to partner with a business, and you've now asked those questions in the previous slide, and you've established how you're going to communicate your story with them. So now you need to know who to contact and how best to start the conversation. So our general advice is to contact the sustainability manager or equivalent, or you can email the general email address and ask for the person responsible for environmental community work, and that should get you to the right person. When you first reach out, you should keep it short and succinct, just covering the basics, so who you are, what your NGO does and in what geography, and a clear reason for contacting them, as well as obviously your contact information. The detail and the story can come later once you've established the initial contact. Next slide, please. So this slide is just showing a few useful resources on how to articulate your organization's value. There's a couple of websites with some top tips and a handbook and course on negotiation for NGOs, and these slides will be shared after the presentation, so you'll be able to have a look at these. Next slide, please. So next, I'm going to talk to you about a few fauna and flora case studies, which demonstrate the main 3 types of partnerships that Halley Rose spoke about earlier. Next slide, please. So first of all is an example of philanthropic partnership, which Fauna and Flora has entered into with the asset management business Schroders. So Fauna and Flora are Schroders' new global environmental charity. And to kick this off, Fauna and Flora held a 2-week takeover of the Schroders London office, which you can see in the photos on this slide. Sorry, someone's unmuted. So yeah, sorry, the 2-week takeover of the Schroders London office, which showcased our work. So through this partnership, Schroders will be providing vital support for 5 fauna and flora projects. And the 5 projects are a coastal and land conservation project across Scotland, a sustainable livelihoods project in Uganda, helping local communities to live in harmony with chimpanzees, a Nicaraguan sea turtle project, working with local communities, a project restoring wildlife corridors in Romania's Carpathian Mountains, and lastly, a marine conservation project focusing on campaigns for reef protection, sustainable fishing, and plastic pollution. So this case study really demonstrates the kind of impact that can be achieved through partnering with business. Next slide, please. So next, I'll talk a bit about one of Fauna and Flora's strategic partnerships. And this partnership is with an energy company in Uzbekistan. So with this kind of partnership, as Halley Rose explained earlier, we co-create the initiative with the business and have a specific shared conservation goal. So in this case, the goal is to develop recommendations for a qualitative strategic biodiversity plan through a number of pillars. So the pillars are holistic planning, development of site level targets, in this case, cumulative impact management, application of mitigation hierarchy, focusing on long-term conservation goals and stakeholder mapping. So this is a really good example of this kind of partnership. Next slide, please. So lastly, we have an in-kind type of partnership example. So this case study is about the Invasive Alien Species Collaborative Initiative, which is a partnership led by Fauna and Flora alongside IUCN and the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosure, and also alongside leading businesses, which aims to enable collaboration, learning, and sharing of best practice. Sorry, I'm talking too fast for the interpreter. Apologies. The initiative aims to enable collaboration and learning and the sharing of best practice, as well as raising business awareness and accelerating action on invasive alien species. So to allow the initiative to get off the ground, we had seed funding from businesses, as well as some in-kind support from IUCN and TNFD. So the eventual aim of the initiative is to develop a fund which will support businesses to accelerate action on invasive alien species in their operations by engaging with fauna and flora projects. So this is a really great example of this type of in-kind partnership, and really shows how ambitious the scope of these partnerships can be. So yeah, that's it for the case studies. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that was helpful. Do put any questions in the chat. I'm going to hand back to Chloe, who will do the Q&A session for us.
Okay, Sam, thank you for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here and share some experience. So GreenViet is a local NGO acting in the central of Vietnam. Our focus is endangered wildlife and ecosystem. So we work mostly with species, and especially with the primate. As Vietnam has 25 different species, and 90% are either in endangered or critically endangered, we have lots of work to do, and we need a lot of efforts in the field. And we focus on CBC, and our approach is access-based community development. So we work mostly with community. So the resource and other thing we use within the community. So the first story I like to tell you is 2018, we built the first education center for wildlife in central of Vietnam. And we work with 10 local companies, including the architect company who make the free design for us, as you see on the back of the designs. And we also work with the local hotels and private school to bring the student to the center and to give the student to learn about primate conservation in the site. And for working with the company locally, we are able to raise $60,000 were contribute to the construction, and other in-kind contribution, including like the fan and the air conditioner to give. And with the education center, we are able to host 13,000 people since 2018. And this is local business working with us. With the Russian Duckland work, we have another story that the business sectors is not only contributes funding, they also provide access. In this case, it's infrastructure access. We work with the advertising company in Da Nang City, and we able to get 15 bus shelter for free, so that we can have a message on conservation of the Russian duck language in Central. And with the species as an icon, we also able to work with a local resource named Furama, so that they can provide a minivan to have the local people and the children to visit a nature reserve, which is quite near to the Central, to Da Nang city. And another in-kind working contribution from the business is we have a collaboration with printing company, so that our printing postcards, poster, and picture, or printing material using for education for the Russian group in Da Nang, we get the discount 50%, and thus give a lot of save a lot of funding for the activity in the field. With the Black duck language, we have a long-term kind of strategic collaboration with Ninh Bay Resource, and the story from this is that we know the population of Black duck is kind of dangerous, and we got a call from the resource that the visitors are scared of the duck, and they don't know how to deal with the duck, because there's some macaque as well attack the visitor. But when we come and work with them, we found that it's a good population of Black duck language, and we are able to do a complete survey. And for the first survey, we found that the population is quite stable within the resource, and we are having a 6-year contract, so that we can provide the information of the Black duck and the biodiversity for the resource, and also guiding the appropriate behavior to the primates in the resource. And it's very happy that through cooperation, the population increase after 7 years is nearly double. So the cooperation between the NGO and the business sector can benefit really good to the wildlife. We provide them the knowledge and the expertise, and giving the information to the visitor. In advance, they pay full time for one GreenViet staff working at the site, and we are able to do a long-term ecological research on the species, and we publish quite a number of the paper on the species at the site. It's bring lots of reputation of the conservation for GreenViet at the site as well. And the last 2 years, Ninh Bay received a word that it helped them a lot, the business a lot, in terms of marketing and gaining reputation. They got a Human Act and High Control award, which is quite well known in hospital in Asia for that award. So this is long-term cooperation, and it's going very well. Another example of how we work with the business sector to restore the habitats of the urban area. This is the program that GreenViet working with multiple cities. We work with authority to find out the land. And normally the empty land is being abandoned or is not being invested by the government. So we work with the business sector and we transform it, become a plantation area, a small park. And the result behind that is we getting nearly 20 small park and plantation that in Da Nang city and other city. And this is bring a chance for wildlife come back to the area. Bird, insect, reptile is coming back to the area. So it's the local people and especially the children really benefits from the site and business sector. They really love this program. They really love it. Hundreds of the company and private local company come call to us and asking how we can join your program. So it's been very successful. They provide funding to buy tree, to maintain tree, to design the park and plantation, and we implemented that. And local community also contribute a label to work. So this kind of win-win-win benefits for all stakeholder. And very recently, we worked with the Dai-ichi Life Vietnam is an insurance company. Normally, it's kind of hard to find out and working with the insurance company in the private sector because they have really high expectation in the project, and they also have a lot of negotiation and due diligence between the company and the organization. But we found out that the Dai-ichi like is a Japan company. They came and they want to open the market in the area where we act the project at. So for that, we understand what the business sector like want, and in the day of the event, they send the staff to work with us. So after talking with the marketing director, and they share that the staff engagement is something they really want, which they're going to show how much staff care for the nature, and through that the local people understand how much the Dai-ichi Life Vietnam care about their service. So it's about 60,000 trees were planted. And also for the urban restoration program, we work with a company named Dat Gia Trang. It's a fertilizer company, and we don't get the funding from them. We don't get money, but we got 100 tons of fertilizer from the company. And they also provide transportation from their company to the location to where we plant tree and restore the urban habitat. So I mean, $100,000 if you calculate from the in-kind contribution to and one of the reasons the business sector like is they also want the staff of the company engage with the new market for staff engagement and for the market. So that is something we like to share, that from experience from both program species and the habitat restoration program, we found that working with business is actually giving you a lot of opportunity and a lot of different kind of cooperation that you can handle. You can work with them, but some lesson learned from here is when we start the discussion, we try to understand what they really want, because if they want to give staff engagement and in-kind contribution, you may organize some activity together in the open area, or if they want to have a new market, it's important to invite authority and people of the community to join in your opening day, so that they are really happy with their contribution and long-term cooperation. Yeah. And the partnership is evolved. For example, we start with the Ninh Văn Bay from just one accord. They want, oh, we have a primates and the visitors are so care of them. Can you do a quick check and suggestion? So we just send staff and come and see, you know, what we can do with that primate. But it turned out that it's a 6-year cooperation, and that benefits a lot for the wildlife and for organization and for the business sector. So think about the evolve of the cooperation, because it might start small, but it's come up with something totally different, and it's make a lot of impact to the conservation work. So and I mean, all in all, in the graph you see that it can be up and down in the contribution, but it needs to be a really long-term strategy of the organization, so that you can achieve at least the goal is set up when you and business sector are working together. So that is something that I like to share with you today. Thank you for listening.